On the evening of March 15, 2018, 29-year-old Amy Richardson walked into her best friend's house for what she thought would be a simple dinner party. She would never walk out. But here's what makes this case truly chilling. Her best friend, the last person to see her alive, spent the next 6 months searching for her, organizing vigils, and pleading on national television for information. That friend's name was Jessica Morgan, and she had everyone fooled. I'm the Crime Loop, and today we're diving deep into one of the most disturbing cases of friendship betrayal that left investigators questioning everything they thought they knew about trust, loyalty, and the darkness that can hide behind a familiar smile. Before we get into the twisted details of what happened, let's talk about who Amy Richardson was, because she deserves to be remembered as more than just a victim. Amy grew up in Portland, Oregon, the youngest of 3 sisters. By all accounts, she was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered. She worked as an elementary school teacher at Riverside Elementary, where students and parents adored her. Her classroom was always decorated with colorful posters and student artwork. But Amy's true passion was photography. On weekends, she'd drive up the coast with her camera, capturing stunning landscapes that she'd later sell at local art fairs. Her Instagram account, which had over 15,000 followers, was filled with breathtaking shots of Oregon's natural beauty. Amy had been dating her boyfriend, Marcus Chen, for 2 years. They'd met at a coffee shop where Marcus worked as a barista while finishing his master's degree in architecture. Friends described them as the perfect couple, supportive, affectionate, and planning a future together. But the most important relationship in Amy's life, or so everyone thought, was her friendship with Jessica Morgan. Amy and Jessica had been best friends since high school. Nearly 12 years of shared memories, secrets, and unwavering support. They'd been there for each other through breakups, family drama, career changes, and every milestone in between. Jessica worked as a pharmaceutical sales representative, a job that required frequent travel but paid well. She lived in a beautiful 2-story house in the suburbs, about 20 minutes from Amy's apartment downtown. The house would later become the center of this entire investigation. On the surface, their friendship seemed perfect. They had weekly dinner dates, went on annual trips together, Mexico in 2016, Hawaii in 2017, and were constantly posting photos together on social media with captions like "Sisters by Choice" and "Best Friends Forever." But according to people who knew them both, there had been subtle tension in recent months. Amy's other friends later told investigators that she'd mentioned Jessica seeming distant and preoccupied. Amy had even confided in her sister, Sarah, that Jessica had been acting strangely, canceling plans at the last minute, being vague about her whereabouts, and seeming irritated by small things that never bothered her before. Still, when Jessica invited Amy over for dinner on March 15, Amy didn't hesitate. It was just another Thursday night with her best friend. Or so she thought. Amy arrived at Jessica's house at approximately 7:15 p.m. We know this because Jessica's security camera caught Amy's silver Honda Civic pulling into the driveway. The footage shows Amy getting out of her car, carrying a bottle of wine, her usual contribution to their dinner nights, and walking up to the front door with a smile on her face. She was wearing jeans, a green sweater, and her favorite brown leather jacket. Her phone was in her hand. That security footage would be the last time anyone outside of that house would see Amy Richardson alive. According to Jessica's initial statement to police, and remember this detail, because it becomes crucial later, Amy left the house around 10:30 p.m. after they had dinner, watched a movie, and caught up on each other's lives. Jessica claimed Amy seemed perfectly normal, maybe a little tired, but otherwise fine. Jessica said she walked Amy to the door, they hugged goodbye, and Amy drove off into the night. But here's the problem. Amy never made it home. When Marcus woke up the next morning and realized Amy hadn't come home and wasn't answering her phone, he immediately knew something was wrong. Amy was responsible, always communicated her plans, and never went anywhere without telling him. He called her phone repeatedly, straight to voicemail. He called her parents, her sisters, her co-workers. No one had heard from her. At 11:47 a.m. on March 16, Marcus filed a missing persons report. The investigation into Amy's disappearance launched immediately. Portland police took the case seriously from day one, especially given Amy's reliable nature and the complete absence of any communication. Jessica was, naturally, one of the first people investigators interviewed. She repeated her story. Amy had come over. They had a normal evening. Amy left around 10:30 p.m., and that was the last she'd seen of her friend. Detectives asked if they could review her security camera footage. Jessica readily agreed, seeming eager to help. The footage showed exactly what Jessica had described, Amy arriving at 7:15 p.m. But here's what made investigators pause. There was no footage of Amy leaving. When questioned about this, Jessica explained that her security system was old and glitchy. Sometimes it failed to record, especially at night. She seemed embarrassed by this, apologizing for not having a better system. At the time, Investigators found this explanation plausible, if unfortunate. Security systems do malfunction, and Jessica appeared genuinely distraught about her friend's disappearance. Amy's car was found 3 days later, abandoned in a grocery store parking lot about 8 miles from Jessica's house. Her purse was in the front seat, her phone was gone, and there were no obvious signs of struggle. Police processed the vehicle for evidence but found nothing definitive. The discovery of the car shifted the investigation's focus. Maybe Amy had been abducted from the parking lot. Maybe she'd met someone there. Maybe she'd had some kind of mental health crisis and wandered off. Jessica became Amy's most vocal advocate. She organized search parties every weekend. She created a Facebook page called Find Amy Richardson that gained thousands of followers. She gave tearful interviews to local news stations, begging anyone with information to come forward. "Amy is my sister in every way that matters," Jessica told reporters, her voice breaking. "I just want her home safe. Please, if anyone knows anything at all, help us bring Amy home." She even offered a $10,000 reward from her own savings for information leading to Amy's whereabouts. To everyone watching, Jessica was the epitome of a devoted friend. For 6 months, the case went cold. Despite extensive searches, media coverage, and thousands of tips, there was no trace of Amy Richardson. Her family was devastated. Marcus fell into a deep depression. The community held vigils, hoping for a miracle. Jessica continued her advocacy work, never missing an opportunity to keep Amy's name in the public eye. But in September 2018, everything changed because of a peculiar discovery made by Jessica's neighbor, an elderly woman named Dorothy Chen. Dorothy had been having problems with her plumbing, and when a plumber came to investigate, he discovered that the issue was actually coming from the property next door, Jessica's property. Tree roots from Jessica's yard had infiltrated Dorothy's pipes. When Dorothy mentioned this to Jessica, asking if she could have someone address the root problem, Jessica became unusually defensive and angry. She insisted there was no issue on her property and refused to allow anyone to dig in her yard. Dorothy found this reaction strange and out of character. Jessica had always been pleasant and accommodating. Why would she be so hostile about a simple maintenance issue? Dorothy mentioned the interaction to her son, who happened to be a retired police officer. He found Jessica's behavior suspicious enough to make a call to the detective assigned to Amy's case. Detective Sarah Martinez decided it was worth getting a warrant to search Jessica's property, specifically to examine the yard for any evidence related to Amy's disappearance. On October 3, 2018, cadaver dogs were brought to Jessica's house. Within 20 minutes, the dogs alerted to an area in the backyard, near a recently planted flower garden that Jessica had installed in May, 2 months after Amy's disappearance. When investigators began to dig, they found her. Amy Richardson was buried 4 feet below Jessica's flower garden, wrapped in plastic sheeting. Jessica was arrested immediately. During interrogation, she initially maintained her innocence, claiming she had no idea how Amy's body ended up in her yard. She suggested that someone must have broken in and buried Amy there without her knowledge, an absurd claim that investigators quickly dismantled. Forensic evidence was overwhelming. Amy's DNA was found throughout Jessica's house, in the living room, the kitchen, and most damningly, in the garage where Jessica kept cleaning supplies. Luminol testing revealed that someone had attempted to clean up blood in multiple locations. Jessica's computer history showed searches for how to dispose of a body and do cadaver dogs work after 6 months conducted in the days following Amy's disappearance. But the final piece of evidence came from Jessica's own phone. She'd been secretly recording videos, a diary of sorts, confessing to the murder and detailing her reasons. Faced with irrefutable evidence, Jessica finally confessed. The motive? Jealousy and obsession. Jessica had been in love with Marcus, Amy's boyfriend. She'd met him first, actually, at that same coffee shop 2 years earlier. But when she'd introduced Marcus to Amy at a group gathering, he'd immediately been drawn to Amy instead. Jessica had spent 2 years watching the person she loved be with her best friend. Every dinner conversation where Amy gushed about Marcus, every photo they posted together, every milestone they celebrated, it ate away at Jessica. In the weeks before the murder, Marcus had confided in Jessica that he was planning to propose to Amy. He'd even asked Jessica to help him pick out a ring, completely oblivious to her feelings. That's when Jessica made her decision. On March 15, Jessica had laced Amy's wine with sedatives. As Amy became drowsy, Jessica convinced her to lie down on the couch. Once Amy was unconscious, Jessica suffocated her with a pillow. She then spent the rest of the night staging the scene, moving Amy's car to the parking lot, disposing of Amy's phone, and burying her body in the backyard under cover of darkness. Jessica Morgan was charged with first-degree murder. In January 2020, she was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During the sentencing hearing, Amy's family gave victim impact statements. Her sister Sarah said, "Jessica didn't just take Amy's life. She tortured us for 6 months, pretending to care, pretending to search, all while knowing exactly where Amy was. That level of deception and cruelty is something I'll never understand. Marcus Chen, who had to live with the knowledge that he was the unwitting catalyst for his girlfriend's murder, gave a brief statement. Amy deserved so much more than this. She deserved to grow old, to achieve her dreams, to be loved and celebrated. Jessica took all of that away because of feelings Amy never even knew existed. The case sent shockwaves through Portland and beyond. It became a cautionary tale about how well we truly know the people closest to us, and how jealousy and obsession can transform someone into a monster. Jessica's Find Amy Richardson Facebook page remains online, preserved by authorities as evidence of her deception. The final post, made the day before her arrest, reads, "Never giving up on finding you, Amy. You're always in my heart." Those words, once seen as touching, now feel chilling, because Jessica knew exactly where Amy was the entire time. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and share. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, stay safe out there.